So I'd like for you to join with me in saying this verse together, Romans 8, verse 15. I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but do the very thing I hate. Brandy, if you'll come on up right now.
Linda,
Yes.
move the chairs a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about right here?
That'd be good.
Okay, perfect. Have a seat.
Hello.
Why don't you tell everyone your name and your title?
So I'm Brandy
You're
Barnes,
going to need to do that.
and I'm the case
Say it one more
manager.
time. You're,
Brandy Barnes,
yes.
and I'm the case manager for the Kelly Shelter. It's a little too close.
Nope,
I
it's
feel
not,
like I'm
trust
pretty
me.
loud.
It's louder right here than what they can hear. So you got to trust
Okay.
that. And he will
So-
also make it just right.
All right.
Okay.
So I case manage the Kelly Shelter. So there's 50 guests downstairs, and there's been 117 altogether, and we've actually housed 19 of them so far, and a couple more to be housed.
Wait now. Let's slow down on that one.
All right.
So I've asked Brandy to come and talk about the shelter and the progress that's made downstairs. And you just said one of the huge steps of progress that has been made. Say that again, 19.
19 people have been successfully housed. So, so last year, you guys opened your church and your time and your hearts and allowed people to come, and it was a little chaotic last year. So
Little
everybody,
is a very small word for what we experienced.
yeah, very.
Yeah.
So they kind of looked at that, and some of you probably had some input and decided that it needed to be done a little different because we were just really giving people a place to lay down and sleep. We weren't giving them any hope or inspiration to move forward. There was nothing to motivate change for them. So this year they have day centers that are out throughout the community. The Methodist Church has it on Wednesday afternoons.
Wednesday all day.
All day, yeah. And so different churches, they go every day. And then we did case management, and so.
And you are the sole case manager.
Yes, I'm the only case manager.
Yeah, yeah.
So we provide food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and activities for them to do, and inspirational people that they get to encounter. So our whole goal this year has been to give them a little piece of hope so that they know that they're worth something and that they have an opportunity to change and don't have to stay where they're at. And so 19 people have decided to make a change and are stably housed and moved forward. 2 of those went into recovery, into an inpatient treatment,
Which would be short term,
90 days.
90 days.
And then they also have a bed after treatment
They
to
do.
go to. So we have Harold's Haven, Heather's Haven, which is an outpatient recovery home. And so they can continue to move forward and to be successfully housed.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. So if you don't mind, you don't have to put any names or anything, but like a typical journey, you know, someone comes in, they register at Rogue Retreat, and then they get selected, they get interviewed and get selected to come to the shelter. How does someone go from, you know, being on the street to getting housed? What are your steps, and just pick one person. How did you work with them to get them to that?
So when they come in, we do what's called a risk assessment, and we try to find out what their barriers are to being housed. So most of them haven't been housed in a long time because they don't make enough money to rent a place on their own.
So would that be the chronically homeless?
That would be chronically homeless, and most of them have either a mental health, physical, or addiction barrier.
Mhm.
So
So did you hear that? A
mental health,
physical, or
addiction.
addiction barrier. Physical barrier to being
Mhm.
housed? That
they're
one
in
is
some kind of disability.
some kind of disability,
Yeah.
and that puts them on the street.
Mhm.
Okay, the other two seem obvious to me, but that one I'm shocked at. Okay, go ahead.
Because they can't work, and so disability is only between $700 and $1,000 a month. And so the price, the rental market right now is $750 for a 1-bedroom.
Right.
so they just can't afford to live on their own.
Okay, so they're chronically homeless,
Mhm.
been homeless for a long time,
More than 12 months.
more than 12 months. Okay, keep
Yeah.
going.
So
You work with
we
them.
identified the barriers.
You
So once
identified
we know what barriers they have, then I can figure out what other community resources and partners to pair them up with.
Mhm.
So one big, huge partner this year has been the Compass House,
Mhm.
which is a program that helps people with mental illness move forward. So they retrain them, they give them opportunities and work experience so that they feel like they can be part of the community. So they have a house, a group house that they house people in. And they also have employment opportunities.
So how do you hold people accountable? I mean, if they get this spot and they get that little bit of money that they might get at the first of the month, they could lose this whole track that they're on, right?
Right. So one thing that we should have done a little different is budgeting, made some kind of agreement when they came in if they had money.
Okay.
So that's one piece that we fell a little short on this year. But I'm pretty hard with them. I have pretty strong boundaries. So if you want to have a night out, you have to call and it has to be excused. And I'm pretty lenient the first one or two. But this month, I've been extremely strict with their excused night outs because they were just learning last month that if they spent their money on motels, then they didn't have application fees to be putting in applications so that they could successfully be housed. So we've tried to take baby steps in helping them learn how to be productive and successful. So everyone that's been at the Kelly shelter has had an opportunity to get their birth certificate and an ID or their driver's license. So almost all of them now have picture ID and can actually rent a place because you can't without one. So that's been
Wow.
a big step.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me some of their responses to what this church has done to their lives.
There's about 70% of them are actually pretty protective of this church. There's some people that try to sleep outside or bring their carts, and the residents actually go out there and tell them, you know, hey, you can't be here, you're going to ruin it for all of us. We had one person that was smoking out right in front of the door, and the smoke was going in, and he went out there and, hey, can you please go across the street? You know, we appreciate being able to stay here. And so they really do appreciate having a warm place. And then having somewhere to go during the day has been huge. And we couldn't have done any of this without all of you guys' support and participation. No matter how small, it has impacted and made such a difference in their life. Probably 90% of them want to have some kind of stability in the community now. They don't want to be a nuisance where the police are looking for them. They want to be an inspiration and be able to give back to the community.
So this is just happening everywhere, right? Every city you know has a shelter that has case management that's moving people out of, what?
No, case management's pretty new. So
This is not happening everywhere.
shelters don't have case management. Emergency shelters, warming shelters, and temporary shelters are a place to sleep in for the most part. This is pretty new. There's a couple cities that do have some long-term shelters that offer some kind of case management, but this more intensive case management where there's a case manager that meets with them every day, it's new. It's brand new, especially for this area. It's never been done. To the point where the community, the city council, is pushing for year-round shelters and more opportunities to get people off the street.
This is a precious person here, and we are blessed to have her today. And I'm just so moved by the efforts that you've done. It really has a lot to do with your work. You're holding them to it. Your commitment to their life being better, and it is really different this year because of the case management. And so I wanted us to have a chance to say thank you to you and for them to hear your stories. She's so nonchalant about it, you know, you do this, but it is really magical work. And what she's really doing is changing so many lives. And it really started with us allowing them to have a warm place at night to stay, right? Mm-hmm. And so she wanted a chance to say thank you to this church for them, right?
Yes, yeah, like I said, without you guys opening your hearts and your contributions and your prayers and your love, then these people wouldn't feel what you guys have up here, and they feel that downstairs. It's something that makes them want to be better, and it makes them want to do things different and be productive, and that's absolutely a huge part of their life that's going to make just a huge difference.
Let's give Brandy a hand. So before I ask you to sit back down, is there anything else you want to share with them? Is there some other piece you're like, oh, I wish I'd said that?
We actually, we've been trying really hard for every meal to have somebody that would say a blessing. And so for some of those times, Thursdays and Fridays especially, we've missed out on that part. So I try to say blessing when I'm there, but I'm so busy that sometimes I miss meals. So if anybody would like to be any part of the Kelly Shelter, this is the last month. You guys are more than welcome to join us for a meal. Say a blessing would be wonderful. And just come and meet some of the people and just listen to their stories because they all have amazing stories.
Yeah, they do. Thank you, Brandy.